All right, we're good to go. How are you, T.O.? You're well?
I'm good. I'm good.
You good? We've got a few people joining us this morning who have popped in the chat. Hello to Cooley and Darren, a couple of our members that have popped in to talk all about AllStar. Oh, we've also got Frank in there too. We've got Hank, and a couple of others who are popping by. James, I see you in there too. Look, even you're here, T.O. That's good to see.
Right here. That's where I am.
Yeah, so we're talking AllStar, and I noticed that we've got Freddie Mac in the house too. He's we knew. See, as soon as we put the AllStar word out, Freddie's in here. So good to see you in, and he'll be watching over us to make sure that everything we're saying is accurate.
Freddie, we're gonna blow your mind.
We are.
The YouTube Elmer of AllStar is here, Freddie. You got to watch this guy. He's been doing AllStar videos since I was in diapers.
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
Or Freddie? No, me.
No.
Well, I've been doing...
Freddie was doing it since you were in diapers. I'm talking about you doing it since I was in diapers.
Right.
Older than you. Younger than you.
Yeah, we've been doing AllStar for a little bit of a difference. And I suppose we need to sort of backtrack a little bit. I suppose everyone... AllStar's having a bit of a resurgence at the moment. Especially,
I think it's Freddie's fault.
It is Freddie's fault. Well, no, it's AllStarLink 3's fault. They did a big upgrade to the AllStar system because we've had this discussion before about ham radio software and how antiquated and how outdated things are. Well, AllStar hadn't received a significant update for quite a while, and then they released AllStarLink 3, and all of a sudden, with lots of cool new improvements and features and stability fixes and bugs and all sorts of stuff. So that's good. I haven't fired up AllStarLink 3 yet because I run a couple of different oddball things on my AllStar system, which is we can cover later on. And there is a couple of little niggling bugs in AllStarLink 3 that I'm still waiting for to be ironed out before I move over.
Right.
But basically, AllStar is a group of linked repeaters or nodes or simplex radios, whichever you want to build up. You all get assigned a node number, and you can connect to one another. A little bit like digital modes, except I guess the original digital mode. AllStar, I don't know. It's analog. Right. It's analog radio, basically, in a majority of cases.
Encapsulated into digital bits and shipped over the digital line waves to other digital people.
Right. It's basically IP linking over the internet. Now I'm going through pages and pages of private nodes there. Let me put in my call sign and show you some of the nodes that I've got running here.
You got a bunch of them.
So the idea basically is that you can set up a node, and then what you can do is you can dial another node, and you can talk to that other particular radio that's on the other side of the world. So, for instance, I've got one of my nodes here. I've actually got it sitting just right here in front of me, and we'll have a look at it in a sec. But if your node was on, Steve...
Yeah, I know. It's on the desk. It's right here.
It is. I would be able to dial 54199 and it would automatically connect to you, and I'd be able to talk over the radio, over IP.
You know mine? Oh, you looked it up. I thought you knew it. I was all...
No,
oh,
I just looked it up.
Ambrose. Oh. No, he just looked it up.
Yeah. So it's kind of cool.
54199.
Yeah, and like without getting into...
It was hilarious. You said that, and I'm like... Hey, that sounds like my number, and I had to look. It is my number.
You're not watching the screen share.
No, the last time that I had this thing on, you were on it in the car next to me. That's how long it's been since this thing's been on.
Okay, it's been a while. So here's our these are a couple of our nodes here, and you can go into these nodes and view statistics like stations that are connected, and you can see things like a bubble chart, which basically draws a little map of everything that is connected to this and all of the details and all that sort of thing, which is rather cool.
Star tree.
But without getting too far into what AllStar is, because I've got a video on my channel that goes into setting up an AllStar node using ham VoIP and how it all connects together, and Freddie's done heaps of videos as well on AllStarLink 3 too.
You know, there's
You've done a couple.
R in
You've
that
done a
word,
couple
right?
too.
I have
Hey,
like one or two.
what am I saying?
You said I don't know how FAR we're going to get, but you only said I don't know how FA we're going to get.
Far.
Far, far,
Urgh. I don't
far,
roll the. I don't roll the R's.
far, like a pirate.
Um,
Far.
So yeah, this is basically AllStar anyway. Now we had a little variation which we came up with, and this was probably getting close to 10 years ago now. Before you could actually get AllStarLink onto Raspberry Pis, you could only really run it on like server PCs and something that's got a little bit more grunt power in it. Older Linux machines that had more power than the Pi. We thought, no, well, we want to get it onto the Pi. So someone actually took the AllStarLink code, because it's all open source, removed all the unnecessary bits that we didn't need, and we came up with what we called VK-Link. So this is, in AllStarLink, you've got public nodes, which is all of the nodes that show publicly that you can connect to, but you can also create a private system. So effectively, this is a private system that is not part of the AllStarLink network. This is our own private network, and basically these are all connected to repeaters all around Australia, and they can connect to one another. They can also connect to AllStarLink now, because there are some gateways as well. So we came up with that, and that worked quite well. I was involved in a lot of testing and a lot of development and stuff like that, and it's still going. So we've got a couple of nodes in here, and we use this to connect to links all over Australia. But it's sort of like a lot of people have been going to AllStarLink now because of updates and all sorts of bits and pieces. So that's basically, quickly in a nutshell, what AllStarLink is. But we were talking the other day, and we were saying about
The other day,
it's hard. It can be hard.
it can be.
It can be very hard to build a node. Now there are a
box.
couple of options. What are you showing there?
Oh, this is my node box where I'm trying to make an RT95 into an AllStarLink, and it's hard. I mean, it's full of junk.
There's lots of bits in there.
Yeah.
So there are a couple of options, and I'm sure that everyone will be familiar with these. This is the Shari from Kits for Hams. These come in all sorts of different varieties. That's your one there that you're holding there. That is the...
Yeah,
what am I? I'm on the wrong one.
Yeah, you're on the Pi 3. This is the one that's built into the Pi 4.
Right. Here we go, the Pi Hat.
With the Neo
that
case. One. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got one of those. I've also got one that plugs into the side of the Pi, which is that one that you saw for the Pi 3. So you can run this on a Pi 3, you can run it on a Pi 4. So I've got one of these running one of my nodes as well. But these are great solutions, but they are low power. That's the only thing, because they come with a radio inside them. That's what the little antenna is.
Max.
Oh, absolute max. Like, here we go. Here it's saying 300 to 500 milliwatts. Sometimes you get a little bit more. Sometimes you get a bit less. Which is a good solution. However, I've had quite a few people that have said, how do I build a high power node? Which is what you were trying to do with the RT95, right?
It is, yeah. RT95 is 25 watts, I think. Yeah, so I was trying to build a 25 watt node for the neighborhood I could drive away from a little bit.
Yeah.
Mostly just because it's a ham project and they're fun.
Right. And like this kit, you don't really need to solder all of this surface mount stuff. You basically just put on the RF chip here. And I think I can't remember if you sold the headers. I think you soldered the headers and the SMA connector. And that's about it. So this is reasonably easy to put together. And of course they do come with instructions, and there are other options as well. But we wanted to build something like a high power node. You'd have to modify a little CM108 sound card here. So
yeah, and these are cool because the sound card is as thick as the tongue on your USB port, so it has no connector, no shroud. That's it right there. That's what you get in the box.
That's all you get.
It's neat.
So
I like
this,
it.
by the way, too, there's some links below in the description for all of this if you want to have a go at building something. This is on the HamVoIP website, which shows sort of these connections. But look at all these wires going everywhere, and like the thing is, the hard thing that we found. Well, I'll let you take it because you were talking to me about this.
Yeah, I
And the
tried to
hard
do
thing
this.
about modifying.
That picture right there with the red wires, can you zoom in on that one?
Yep.
There's this neat trick that you can do with this guy where you take this real thin gauge wire and you actually slide it under the FPGA package. So you can see it on the lower side and on the upper side. Those two wires go all the way through the underside of those pins and they attach to the last pin. So you get kind of a little physical thing there, but I couldn't get it done. I kept bridging solder pins and I kept making a mess and it wasn't fun.
Because these pins are tiny, aren't they? Like if I've got, here we
Yeah.
go, I've got my, I've got one here, and I don't know if this is going to focus or not. So this is one that I worked on, and you could see like that is some pretty, it's pretty difficult to solder. Like you can pull the pin straight off of the board,
Yes.
if you're not careful.
Because these are built by the sound fob itself is built in a factory with a pick and place machine, and it's not built by hand. Things that are built by hand are a little bit stronger to have, human. Yeah, exactly, Freddie. Human interface issues. Like your cell phone. You remember these guys got really small and then they started getting really big again. It's because people have hands to use these things. Like I have people to hold it. This little tiny Dove bar thing in my pocket just ain't cutting it.
Yeah, I mean. It is. Let me just zoom that out. It is possible to do. Obviously,
yeah.
I've done a couple of them.
You did it, yeah.
I did.
And that's only the 2 wires. You sent me one with a transistor on it too.
Yeah, that's down here. It is.
Step 27 or something.
Yeah, something like that. Here we go. Let's view this in. So basically, what these connections are, and let's just show here what this. So the whole reason you need to do this modification is because this board plugs into your Raspberry Pi, and it's the interface between AllStarLink running on your Pi, the software running on your Pi, and your radio.
Right.
So you need audio in and audio out, which is easy because they're already there on the board with the two 3.5 millimeter connectors. You need PTT, and you also need COS or squelch or mute, depending on how you want to call it. So
it's carrier on squelch or something like that, and it means if my
carrier
radio's
operated squelch, yeah.
carrier operated squelch. So if my radio is busy doing something, don't interrupt it. So it's listening, and if it hears radio, like real radio, not background noise, it won't do anything. And then when it listens and hears just static, the stuff that you squelch out, then it's like, oh, it's clear to send. I'll go ahead and send my traffic out. So it's being polite. Carrier detect.
Right, carrier detect. That's probably a good one to explain it. So then what this is, so what you're doing here is you're modifying this. You lift a I think that's a capacitor. You lift a capacitor here, which stops some voltage which goes onto your mic port because you don't need that.
Right.
And then what it's doing is this transistor is basically keying from a signal here from the CM108 chip. There is a GPIO pin here, which in AllStar you can define as a PTT output. So what it does is it drives this transistor. This transistor then pulls to ground and then sends that signal back out the port here to you via a cable to your radio, and you can use that as your PTT signal. It does the opposite with the carrier-operated squelch. So coming in from your radio, in on this pin via this cable into the IC to detect when there's a signal there. So you can do all of these things, and there's lots of articles about, like there's one here on my website about how to modify these if you want to modify them and have a go. Here's one on HamVoIP that we showed before that's a very dirty way of doing it, I will say.
Well, I mean, it's respectable, but we should advance the state of the art.
It works, but like look at all this, like all of the, like there's all sorts of stuff just going on here. So there's got to be another way of doing it, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's ham first, which, lots of respect for what this guy has done. But then after this, like, do you think this guy wants to sit in his garage making these things for all of us for the rest of his life?
Yeah, that's not gonna go too well, is it? So we want to know too in the chat, what would make this process easier? What would
Yeah.
if you wanna get a node up and running on the air really quickly, what would be something that would be simple and easy and a good way to do it?
So Hank
what are
started
some
us off
features
with this?
Yeah.
He says AIOC plus an HT is about as simple as it gets, and you can do this with an AIOC, but there's like you could level up and do it a little bit better with the COS and the PTT instead of Vox.
So so I will mention, so the AIOC is great, and Herb G1LRO, he wrote some code, I think, in that to emulate a CM108. So basically, AllStar is it wants to see a specific chip, right? The CM108, or I think a CM119, I think is the other one as well. So the AIOC had to emulate that because it didn't have a real CM108 sitting on there. So it does work, and there is firmware out there that Herb has developed to make it work. The only thing is that I don't believe it does the signaling like COS. I think it does. Does it use Vox? I think. I'm trying to remember. I built a node out of it using my.
It can have
little
PTT on
Baofeng.
it, but the software needs to support it. And the AIOC is a STM32, and they have CM108 emulation software on it.
Right. And then if you want to branch out a little bit further and use, say, this particular interface or this interface for something else, that would be very handy too, wouldn't it? Other programs.
Right.
Not necessarily just AllStar. So if you want to use it
Like
for...
WinLink or APRS or anything, yep.
Or Direwolf, yeah.
What's the budget? The budget is what you feel comfortable paying.
Yeah.
And that could be zero. I mean, we're asking like how would you like this to be easier, or what would you do? And this sound file, what is this thing, like $6, $7 on, I don't know, it's like $2 on AliExpress if you buy 20 of them.
With like 2 cents
but
worth
buy
of
20
parts.
of them. Yeah, buy 20 of them though, because you're going to mess up a couple.
So Darren says a pre-modified DigiRig version. So I guess is that probably leading into the next comment that Old Fart on a BMX has about something that's 100% plug and play. Yeah. Okay.
And you can do that with AllStar, where you really have trouble doing that with something like DMR, because the DMR hotspots they're not difficult, but they're difficult. You know, it's like learning a foreign language when you're 65 years old. You can do it, but you know, I'd rather just have something where I don't need to.
Yeah. And I'd love to see. We've got a $10 super chat from HamLive 73s guys. You're leaving halfway through the show. Thanks for throwing a little tip out for us on the way out.
Does it mean goodbye? Thank you, HamLive. But does that mean goodbye, or does it just mean best regards?
Best wishes,
what I was always
or
told.
best wishes.
Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
So you could say it at the beginning. Instead of calling CQ, I'll just say 73. This is KM9G. Anybody want to QRZ?
We should definitely
awesome.
do a video doing that.
He's not wrong, but you know, it's funny.
No. Yeah, it means best wishes, right?
Yeah. We're tracking with you. We get it.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the $10 super chat.
At least it's an 88. Ken, I love you, Ken.
That is true. That is very, very true. Right. So I guess what we were sort of looking at is we wanted something that was already modified. Sorry, not already modified. Easy to modify.
Easy to modify. Easy.
Easy to modify. You can customize it yourself and do it with whatever application you want to run it to. So say you want to build it to support a certain radio, then you can add the bits on that you need and just make it cheap, I guess, and easy. That's probably the main point. I don't know if we got a bot in the house or something.
Check your meds, mate.
I was just seeing your eyes dart over to the live chat. Don't worry, I saw him.
He's asleep at the keyboard. Yeah.
It's like if you seen the there's a video somewhere where someone was asleep at the CW key and just leaned on the key. Just a carrier.
What's that smell?
Or
Burnt finals.
or someone left Vox on, and you could hear them snoring in the background.
I've seen that, or somebody's watching some questionable content while playing FT8, and you can hear the
the
YouTube
audio
video
going through.
The YouTube video going through.
Yeah. So yeah, we're interested to know anyway your thoughts. What are some other ones as far as have you come up against this sort of problem before? So I was speaking to a couple of guys in my club, and they're like, "How do we build a high power node? We've got the little Sharis, but the problem is if I plug it into like an outdoor antenna, it's only still got so much range."
Well, not only that, you're actually going to desense it on inbound too. With a good antenna.
They're like, I want something that I can hook up a radio, such as there was a couple of other radios. The RT95 is one. I know that you've tried this before.
I have.
With the RT95.
I have.
Getting something like that running as a node can be a little bit tricky if you have to mod that.
It is.
So what we want to do is we want to try and see if we can come up with the answers to this problem.
Do we already have the answers? Are we like announcing something, or are we just kind of teasing out that,
No,
I
think
what are we doing?
I think what we're doing is we're just telling people that this might be a 2-part series and they might have to come back next week.
It might be. Well, I mean, you've got the parts there to plug this thing up. You know, like you've got the fob and you've got the pi set up and you've got everything.
Yeah, well, this one is half modified. As you can see, it's actually missing the... hang on, let me full screen me. This is actually missing the connectors, the 3.5mm connectors.
Yeah,
it also doesn't have...
Off, yeah.
Yeah, it also doesn't have the transistor modification yet. So the idea that I had behind this was I was going to plug... solder directly to the pins here so that I could go to put this in directly to my repeater site. So, for instance, one of the things that I wanted to do is rather than having an AllStar node talk to my repeater from my home, if I have IP at my repeater site, then I can plug AllStar directly into the repeater. So, via the controller with a link on a link port or something like that. So, that was what this originally was, and I didn't really come back to it because I can't even remember why. I think I went down another path. So but
thing that we didn't
it is
talk
possible.
about with that board is I got one here. This is one that I tried to do. I don't know if you can see, but I lifted a couple of pads off of that PCB because, like I said, these aren't meant for human hands. And when you start doing human hand type stuff with something that's not made for it, I mean, it's fine as a shipped product, but it's not fine in terms of like modifying yourself unless you're really, really good at it. And I don't consider myself great, but I'm not terrible at it.
Right. So
that's where I shoved that wire in there, and you can see the bridged pins.
See, like I literally, I'll just show you something here. I've been fiddling with this here, and I've just realised that my soldering hasn't been too good. Look, my wires come loose.
It just came right off. Yep.
Yeah. So, and in actual fact, it's pulled the pin off too. So that's probably maybe why I threw it back in the box. Don's asking, I don't get the question, a high-powered AllStar node. Okay, so the scenarios that we had down here was we live in very mountainous terrain, and some people don't have access to be able to get into the repeater or repeaters very well. So what they did was built up some Shari nodes and had them at their house and connected via IP back into the repeater system. But then the issue was is that it's only so good, maybe around your house if you've only just got the little antenna, maybe down the street if you can still hear it. So if you want to, say, jump in the car and drive around somewhere where you're still in a bad reception area for the repeater, then you still want to be able to access it. So that's kind of, I think, where the higher power AllStar node came from. And There's a couple of other interfaces that people are talking about. Definitely, there's stuff out there that you can get which is pre-built as well that you can pay for. But we're talking about something that is easy to modify but cheap, and will do the job for you. Don, my club uses AllStar on all our repeaters. Yeah, that's pretty much what we're going to now. I've actually got, here's a little project of mine too. This is an AllStar RTCM. This is using the voting and simulcast portion of AllStar that is hidden, that a lot of people don't realize is actually in there. So
I'm not sure Don's question then, because he was like, why do you need a high power? And then he goes on to say that he has high power versions. Because your repeater's a high powered AllStar node, isn't it?
It can be, yep. If it's, and like I was saying before, to be able to interface to it, you can do it either at your house with a standalone node with a radio that then talks to the repeater, or is it much better to do it at the actual repeater, and then you don't have the extra radio in between and the extra RF.
I think Don was just trying to set us up.
Oh, okay. That doesn't sound like Don
why
at all.
Why do you need that for repeaters? And then Don's like, yeah, because I've got it on my repeater.
Yeah, sorry, I meant simplex. People were simplex nodes.
Ooh, simplex. I didn't think about like AllStar to AllStar RF only. I always, and I might be wrong about this, but AllStar, like the whole point of that is to tunnel through, to link repeaters over the internet, or to link things that look like repeaters but aren't repeaters, air quotes, over the internet.
Right. So you can do simplex node to simplex node if you really want to, like we do. We did simplex node to simplex node.
We were using a hotspot though.
Well, do you refer to it as a hotspot, or see? This is the other thing too, is that you don't necessarily need to build a repeater. You could build one of those that you're holding in your hand as a high-powered gateway, basically, that other people could use as well.
Right.
Freddie, I need to learn this segment of AllStarLink, RTCM's voters. Let's. You should come on sometime. We can chat about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, that's getting next level. Yeah,
we were cheating. We were both in the car at the same time using the same radio to talk over the same AllStar node.
Right.
We really weren't actually using the radio. We were just listening to each other talking to a microphone.
Well, see, you had yours, I think, in your truck when I was over there, and we were using that to dial in and out using the hotspot on your phone. Yep. One of the things that I love to joke about is I say, oh, my repeater's a digital repeater. And they're like, what do you mean? It's not digital, it's on analog FM. And I'm like, no, it's analog to digital. Analog
DAC,
to digital,
AAC.
and then back out the other end, digital to analog.
It's called a modem, a modulator-demodulator.
Yeah. So one question that we have for the chat is, does anyone actually have a high-powered node? Or does anyone want to build a high-powered node? Because they might want to follow along with us on stream building a high-powered node.
Yeah, that would be good.
We could do that. What are some other things we could do? We could build an APRS gateway as well using one of these.
Yeah, so this is the one that you gave me. That's all wired up properly with the transistor.
Is that one I did?
Resistor. I don't know if you did it or not, but you handed it to me. You were awful proud of it, so maybe. But
did I bring that to me? Did I bring that to America with me? Did I?
Yeah, this thing was 20-some hours on the plane, man.
All right.
So there's the missing capacitor. There's the transistor. There's the pull-up resistor. There's the wire, and it's plugged into the front of the chip over here. There's the PTT line and the COS line. And I might be pointing to those backwards, but y'all get the idea, and you're not going to be so pedantic as to point out that I was upside down. There, is that better?
you held it the Australian way.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you test that? Does that actually work?
It does. I did.
Good.
And then
I did a good job then.
Yeah.
So Darren says, I've got all the parts to start a build, just need to get it done. That's another that's another thing is just getting it done. So trying to take out, like, to modify one of those, if you've done a few of them, it doesn't take so long. But there's probably a good, while you're fiddling around trying to get that all done, there's probably a good hour there, I reckon, modifying. Potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don, I'm not aware of a high-powered 2-meter radio kit.
Like, open the box, and there's your AllStar node.
Right. So you kind of have to build your own, don't you? Which you can do, but you have to go and modify that little board to get it to work. Yeah. Here we go. He's staring us up again. So Ken says you have to provide your own Yaesu radio with not Yaesu, but any radio, with a data port and a dyno from Kits for Ham. 6-pin data to my 150's 10-pin DIN. Right.
Yeah, that's the same guy that makes the Shari Pi hat. He makes the dyno.
What if there was a simpler way? A simpler and cheaper and easier way, Tio?
Right. Yeah, that'd be great.
That would be great. It would be great.
So when I got started down this journey, I had these audio cables, this 3.5 millimeter cable to deal with, and they make these breakout connectors. So there's your tip ring sleeve connectors there, and you can just, screw terminals, screw it into place. So you've got that on one end, you've got that on the other end. This is all made up. If you've ever taken apart an actual audio cable, this stuff in here is like cat hair thin. Not cat whisker thin, cat hair thin. Like, good luck.
They're cool. I didn't know that they existed.
Yeah, and then they make breakout boards like this. This is RJ45 coupler, and then I can, put screw terminals on the wires and kind of inspect or snoop or like totally bypass this one connector and just go to those wires. And then those screw terminals come off, and they've got the DuPont header hidden inside of them. Or maybe I took it off. No, I took it off all the way, and then I put the DuPont headers on, so I could use pin header stuff. And then they have these with the 6-pin port that your ICOM radios and Yaesu radios have on them already. That's kind of a standard, is the 6-pin with the 1200 BPS and the 9600 BPS and PTT and so on.
Right. So there's another problem that we also talk about too, is that when you plug into, say, a mic port on the front of a radio, sometimes, and we had this discussion, that it could go pop. So some radios might have voltage on their mic line, like that one. I believe that radio has, on that mic port, you've got all of the signals that you need for AllStar.
On there. Where'd my mic go?
So I think, so that mic port on the front has all the signals you need, right? But then that
Yeah, so this is what got me excited about it. I've got a microphone hole up here. I've got a PTT button on the side. I'm not showing the camera. See, it even says PTT on it. I'm smart, I can do that. And then this here is your speaker. So I've got everything I need right here. I've got my audio signal in both directions, and I've got my PTT signal. So that means that this can easily plug into this. And that's where I kind of fall over on my faces. I don't know what to do next. And Hayden does, but I don't. I'm not as smart as Hayden is.
No, well, I wouldn't say that. Yeah, Jody, condenser mic radios will have juice on the port. So then if you go and plug that in, you might be putting voltage where you probably shouldn't be putting voltage. So you need probably a capacitor or something to be able to DC block and stop that voltage from doing bad things. Right. Darren says he has an RT95 running as a digipeater here in front of me. Works great.
Yeah.
So how did you interface the RT95? Did you use the port on the front?
Probably a split situation like this. This here is the DigiRig cable for the RT95 radio, and it also works for the Anytone 778. And there's another, it starts with a C, there's another radio out there. But it's got a 3.5 millimeter cable to go into the back, and the glare is getting me on that one, to go into the back of the radio, the speaker port on the back, and then it has a RJ45 to do the microphone part on the front. And so, it's kind of not all that elegant. So one tip ring sleeve to go into one port on the DigiRig, leaving the other one empty. And then these two ports to go in. And then you still have to run Vox, because I don't think that this one here is the one that's got the PTT line. I think it's the other cable that's got the PTT line. But I haven't taken this out of the bag yet, so that's going to be a video coming up eventually. APRS on that radio with that cable.
So if you have an old radio that you want to do this with too, so like the DigiRig cables all come for certain models of radios. So like you've got the one there for the RT95. They'd have ones for ICOM, Yaesu, Kenwoods.
I got a whole bag of them. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, but if you had an old radio or a commercial radio or some radio that they didn't make a cable for, imagine if you had a way of interfacing to that. That would be cool, wouldn't it?
I wasn't kidding.
No, you do.
And that's not even all of the ones I have, because this one's not in there, and my Yaesu one is in my 857 box back here.
So Ken's kind of feeling the vibes about teeing up a product announcement. Look, we're just
well, he's not
trying to
Somebody
figure
said
out
you
what
did
people
your hair
want
today too.
I did say that, and I do it every week. And I do my own. Yeah, once a week, just for the show. Yeah. Okay, David. So I'm late to the party. Can you break down what AllStar is? So we did cover this at the start of the stream. So you can go back to rewatch. You can go back to rewatch that in full if you want, where we go into a little bit more detail. But to do it really quickly, AllStar is basically a bunch of linked nodes on the internet that you can connect to from your own node. So I can connect to TO's there. I can connect to anyone else's who's got an AllStar
if I had
node.
it plugged in.
If you had it plugged in. That's our next stream. TO plugs in the node.
Well, I've got to get it re-IP'd to my new network because I haven't used this since, like 2 phones ago, and I've sold my StarLink off, and lots of stuff happening in Casa de TO.
How much is a DigiRig? That's the other thing I'm not quite sure of. I'm just having a look now and seeing. They're great. Well, DigiRigs are great.
Yeah.
They're great.
You need the DigiRig, you need the USB cable if you don't already have one.
Right.
But he makes Dennis is awesome. Let's just put that on the table. He makes a good USB cable that you can get for this. He's either got one that's coiled up and springy dingy, or he's got one that's short, like 3 or 4 inches long or something like that. Both of them are good.
Mm-hmm.
But DigiRig cable, USB cable, and control cable. So you need 4 things to DigiRig.
Mm-hmm. What about if there was only one thing?
That would be cool.
It would be cool.
I feel like these are softball questions. What if there was something that we had that you liked? Well, I would like it.
No, because that's saying that the DigiRig's something that we don't like. We really like the DigiRig. It's great.
Yeah, I ran into Dennis at Hamvention. It's like, hey, Gio, how's it going? I'm like, love this stuff.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
But ham radio is all about innovation, right? So what we want to do is we want to get from this to something that's easier, right?
We're not
something
there yet.
That's hey.
We're not there.
We're not there yet. We're not there yet. No.
The secret to getting ahead is getting started. So we got to get started. This is
right.
Jump further down the script.
And
wait, do you have a copy of the script? Did it get leaked?
Yeah, what's going on there? Who let you know?
12 minutes left in the stream.
Yeah, so I think
it would be great, but the radios don't support it because radios are dinosaurs.
Right. So I think that's part of the main thing too is experimentation. It's great to get one of these little boards to experiment with, but we had this discussion it's sort of been a little bit overdue because I remember you talking about this before Hamvention, obviously in 2023. So it's been a while.
Yeah. There's too much stuff to do in ham radio.
I know.
Right now I'm dusting my DVMs. Don't you dust your DVMs, folks?
No, I don't. That is interesting.
I thought I was kidding. No, I'm really dusting my DVMs. Now it's all over the space here.
They've been in a box all that time.
No, they've been sitting on my workbench for a year, unused.
Yeah.
Surely Bunnings has something nice. Even I get that.
Do you know? You get that? Do you?
I get it, but we don't have Bunnings here. No,
you don't. You should. Bunnings is good. Although I'm not sure if all the Australians in the chat have seen the ABC's documentary on Bunnings. It kind of sours the taste in your mouth of Bunnings, but that's okay. That's a completely separate discussion.
So
altogether.
We were talking ham radio's a little outdated. The screen on this is the MMDVM hat for digital radio modes. multi-mode digital voice modem, and it's got the AMBE codec on it, and that's what makes this do its magic stuff. But this screen is an I2C screen, or I2C, depending on how you
It's an
say
OLED,
it.
isn't it? Little OLED.
It's an OLED, organic LED, yeah. That I2C technology came out in 1980. 19MF80. And we don't have an I2C bus in any ham radio product. We're going to let those PC people and those Raspberry Pi SBC people like just march right past us. Next thing you know, we're going to have like set-top boxes that run an alternative operating system that decode television signals, and we're not even going to have TV going over the airwaves anymore. Oh, wait, that happened too.
I feel like we've got the TO soapbox. That's a new part of the show now.
Let me complain about how ham radio is behind the times.
What was the other thing?
Experimentation and innovation.
What was the other thing that you only mentioned it this morning, or was it last night? Something about was that it? That wasn't it. Something else in the 1980s that we're missing.
The
have.
temperature and humidity sensors. And
That's right.
GPS and like Meshtastic has already like taken the world by storm and bypassed ham radio using the ham bands, no less.
Yeah. Well, some ham bands. We don't have 900 megs in this country.
I can get a solar repeater, all in one case unit, pretty, like it was meant to be a product type thing. And it already has the temperature sensor, the humidity sensor, the barometric pressure sensor. It does repeating of signals. I can use it as my own personal node if I wanted to. It's magnetic. I can put it on the roof of my car. It's got screw mounts. I can screw it to a pole. I mean, it's like, why don't we have ham radios that are like repeater in a box? Here you go.
I noticed our viewer count just spiked then when you got on the TO rant train.
When I started, it was you put me full screen and all the ladies came in.
Sure. Yeah. No, it is a wider going problem. I was talking to someone the other day. We were discussing
is that how you
about
Canadians pronounce it.
We were talking about contesting and how contesting, when you as a participant, like it's fun when you're doing it, but it can be boring if you don't have the results until like 2-3 months later when they publish the results. So like we have
to watch.
Well, we had a contest which it took them 2 years to release the results from. So we've been trying to campaign and say, look, we need something that is cloud connected, that everyone can see everyone else's live scores who are participating all at once.
Oh, I fixed that too.
Oh, yeah. Do tell. Your FT8
the frequency
poker.
frenzy. The frequency frenzy FT8 competition.
Yeah. But yes.
Live scores is easy.
But I'm talking about adoption though, like in wide scale contests.
Oh.
Like big dog contests, if you know what I mean.
Look, adapting and overcoming and stepping into the modern times is just something that old hams don't do.
It's hard.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be generalizing about age. We're talking about hams that have been doing the same thing for a long
be old
time.
Someday, yeah. I've got some grace.
Regardless of age. So I've been doing things for a long time, and I'm probably set in my ways with some things.
Right.
But I think, we need to sort of adapt and change some things because otherwise it's just not going to work going forward.
And Eric is right. The current WPX scores are live. There are some contests that do it live. And there are some contests that are fun to watch. But, like you look at a car race, and usually car races are pretty, ooh, what was that? Right away you can kind of see what's going on and pick up on it and kind of know, like, that guy's out in front and he's going faster than everybody else. But a ham radio contest, unless you're actually watching, our friend Michael, KB9VBR, was doing a not Worked All States. He was doing a state QSO party contest as a rover, and he was working somebody on the radio, driving across the county line. He's like, "Hold on, I'm crossing the county line," and I'm on the edge of my seat because I know what's going to happen. Is he going to do it? Like, does propagation change? Did he get just that far out of range for the contact to be made? So what happens is in some state QSO parties, you're supposed to work all counties and get a clean sweep. And so him being in the car mobile, that guy was like on the line, like I've got to get this second county, and you're going to give it to me in like 3 seconds. I'm on it, man. I'm on it. And so it's like, did they do it? And then he did it. Like he crossed it. Like there's the sign. You know, it was awesome. But you have to watch. Like you have to know what's going on in order to watch that and understand it. Otherwise, like watching somebody make contacts is like watching grass grow.
Right. I know a lot of people too, they might not participate in a contest because they know that if they don't have the biggest station going round, then they're just not going to be even in the frame or the picture. So then the other thing that live scoring and live contesting comes in is that you don't necessarily compete against the person who's in first place. I compete against my friend down the road who I know who's got the same station as me.
You and me. You're going
Or I compete against everyone else who's in the QRP section, and I know exactly what scores they're on, and I can have a look, and I could see exactly what score they're on. I'm only 20 points behind. I better try and I'm going to change my my bands up, or I'm going to see if I can call CQ here instead, and change my strategy, all that sort of thing. But at the moment, you don't really get any visualization or anything. But anyway, we're on a completely different topic.
Did we get sidetracked?
We
I
did.
feel like we got sidetracked.
So one of the questions was, if you build a high-power node, do you need something to ident the repeater over the air every so often? And AllStar already does that. In the software, you can specify your call sign in there, and it will ident in CW, or you can put a voice ID in there too if you want. And you can also put in your own custom voice IDs too. You don't need to use inbuilt Allison. I think her name is Allison. To do your voice IDs, you can do your own and put them in there as a ULAW file.
Yeah. So Hayden's actually says,
a WAV file.
This is the VK7HH AllStar node. Come to Tasmania.
Doesn't exactly say that, but it should. Hire someone from Cameo to do your voice ID. Funny you say that, Jody. So the voice IDs on our repeater are done by a professional voice-over guy who was on a television show and all the Aussies would know this. He was a professional voice-over guy for 28, 30 years on a television show that was very popular here in Australia. And I reached out to him and said, hey, I've got an amateur radio repeater. Do you mind doing some voice IDs for me? He sent me a whole bunch of recordings, and I put them on, and they're still on there. So unfortunately, he passed away actually last year, but I got those done 10 years ago, and he was very, very helpful. And it sounds really good and professional, really professional.
It's like Don LaFontaine meets ham radio. One world, one desire. He had one repeater and needed to make a contact. She was 75 miles away, just out of simplex range.
You know the guy's name. I just know it as the voiceover guy.
Don LaFontaine, yeah.
Who else? Who else would you suggest to do your voiceovers on AllStar?
Oh yeah,
I wonder.
Oh, Jeremy Clarkson would be good too.
You've been watching. I don't know if you've been watching Clarkson's Farm, which is the new season. Have you seen Clarkson's Farm at all?
I think I might have seen like a bit out of it.
Oh,
like a YouTube short or something.
Well, we're watching season 4, and that's just been released. So he would be good.
Patrick Stewart.
Yes, VK7HH. John Cleese.
All he does is key repeaters all day to destruction.
Was that an Australian attempt at an accent?
That was my Clarkson impersonation.
Oh, because it turned into Australian towards the end there.
Is drive Ferraris to destruction.
Yeah, Darren knows.
Don't know what his name is, but we call him the Stig. And I got out of character on that last one.
You did.
Casey Kasem. That would be awesome. Oh, Shaggy. Because Casey Kasem was the voice of Shaggy in Scooby-Doo, too.
You know who...
Zoinks!
Well, you should do... I just saw W5YVY, K5YVY.
Yeah.
K5YVY.
Stupid. K5YVY.
Joe Brett's got... does he not do voiceovers? He really should, because he's got the voice for it. Yeah.
You got to add some of that southern sizzle to it, too.
Well, we could. I don't know if he would do that or not. You know who Bandit is, don't you?
No. Maybe I'm missing it. And James, you're in the same country, so I should get this. Because this just brings Smokey and the Bandit and Burt Reynolds to mind.
No, I'm pretty sure that he's talking about Bluey. There's a character in that called Bandit as well. The father of Bluey. Have you not seen Bluey? It's like Australia's best export at the moment. It's the only export that doesn't have a tariff on it, I can tell you that.
Ooh, Harry Carey. This is Harry Carey.
Someone has kids. I don't have kids. I've got a niece and nephew, so I have to watch Bluey. But when I say
Paul Hogan. I was thinking about this earlier. Paul Hogan would be awesome.
yeah,
Steve
but
Irwin would be awesome.
He's too old now. Paul Hogan. He's a little bit. He's absolute legend, but he's past it.
Steve Irwin. Someone chunked up me repeater. Let me get him out of the way and announce myself. I always love that. That's the first thing I do. When people yell at me, like, I'll kerchunk the repeater because it's been a while and I want it to ID itself. It's not like I want to key the repeater and talk and then have the repeater ID itself instead of my call go out. That ain't a signal.
This is a signal.
Yeah.
Yes. But no, you can do all of that. It's very, very customizable. So you can put whatever voice ID people you want in there. The only thing that's a little bit annoying is that you can't use. You got to like do some trickery with the audio to get it to work. That's compatible with Asterisk.
It's got to convert it, right?
Yeah, convert it to
ULAW.
ULAW, or I think WAV format might also work as well.
Now, see that word you put an R in. You can't put the R in far, but you can put the R in law.
WAV. Do you want me to say WAV?
Yes.
What did I say? WAV.
You said
Where's the R there?
You said ULAW.
ULAW.
Not ULAW. ULAW.
Lore. Oh dear. ULAW. All right. So so we've ascertained that there needs to be an easier way, right?
Yeah, I think we do. Is that where we end the stream?
Yeah.
All right, see y'all. Bye-bye.
No, I think
No.
what we do is we don't end the stream, but what we do is we Mike Ray.
He's from Baltimore, like me.
Yeah. We will have some more info next week.
I think so.
You think so? Okay.
I think it's possible. I think it might happen.
All right. We'll leave it there then. We'll have some more info next week.
Yeah, because I got to get my All-Star node set up.
Yep.
Then we can do some All-Star QSOs.
That's right. We can do some All-Star goodness between the two.
Lore. That's right. You lore.
Yeah. You law wave. What's the other? There was another.
MP3s.
No, MP3s need
MIDIs.
conversion, I think. I'm not sure.
Wi-Fi.
Freddie Mac, if you're still in the chat, does AllStarLink 3 allow you to use MP3s natively now? I haven't looked into that closer.
He's on the wrong screen.
The thing is that everything that everyone keeps putting who they want as their voice actors in the chat. The funny thing is you could probably do all that with AI now and tell it to mimic the voice of someone else if you fed them through the AI. You wouldn't even need them to do the voiceover.
Arlie Army.
Yeah. Yes, so we'll get some All-Star nodes happening. It'll be good. It's all the rage. Everyone's doing it.
OGG. Yep. Or AIFF. Yeah, there's tons of audio formats out there. I think we need another audio format to standardize them all into one.
Definitely. We need like a format. Name it after yourself, though.
I want to be alive at a time when something like George Ohm could make the Ohm's law and his friends wouldn't have gone, shut up, George. Like, if I tried to come up with something and call it T.O.'s law, y'all be like, just shut up. Just, no. Even if I was right, just no.
Isaac Newton's law. No, come on.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Come on, Newty, shut up.
Yeah.
It's just an apple. Apples fall all the time. You don't need to go making laws about it.
It goes, someone else has already done that, mate. Someone else has already come up with that concept. You don't need to refresh it.
Well, it's like patents on phones. There's this thing where you can like scroll, and as you're scrolling, you just kind of flick it, and it keeps scrolling a little bit more, like some velocity underneath. Somebody patented that. Like, to me, it's obvious, but somebody
Isn't that inertia?
Yeah, somebody patented a law of physics, just like Newton named it after himself. Fracking Newton.
Well, Jody says you have to die to get naming rights. Well,
no, that's art. You have to die in order for the value of your art to go up.
Is it?
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
So, like,
Right.
Einstein's theory of relativity, he always called it a theory. And if you, I mean, he was alive during the time of, well written and shared history. So he said, I don't know if this is true or not. What do you guys think? And then people went to prove him right or wrong. And then they were able to prove him right. And they gave him credit for it.
I would love to see him
Awesome, David.
or Isaac Newton or someone or whoever we've been talking about on YouTube. Can you imagine the comment section? They'd be like, "So
You're
you
wrong.
had an apple fall from a tree and hit you on the head.
What were
What
you
else has
smoking?"
hit you on the head?" Yeah, what are you,
Right. Right.
that's
Get
the
outta here.
problem.
That's the thing. Yeah.
That's the problem. You had something hit you on the head. All right. So, everyone in the chat, we're going to be back next week, and we're going to
Hold
be
on to your seats.
talking about this again. So look forward to that, and we'll reveal a little bit more. We're all no.
Where'd I go? What happened?
I have the power. So yeah, we'll see. I don't hear any excitement in the chat. I just see 7 3s. I just see best wishes from people.
Yeah, they're all like, get off. Go, goodbye. Go away.
Yeah, they're like, we were hoping that you were going to give us some information, but all will be revealed. Skeeter, all will be revealed. No, there's nothing. We have not done a deal with Bunnings. Okay.
Not yet.
We had a bit of a joke about Bunnings. We were talking about we should do something like a Bunnings on the air.
That would be awesome. I couldn't
Like
really.
a POTA. Yeah, I'm not sure if
Bunnings.
we'd be able to do that, but yeah, worked all Bunnings. What's the equivalent of that over there anymore? Because you don't have like
Walmart.
Sears or anything anymore. Walmart.
No. So it was really weird. Kmart was doing bad and started to go out of business, and Sears swooped in. They're like, we're going to buy you. We're going to resurrect you. And then Kmart was like, no, we're on the edge of bankruptcy, but we're going to buy you instead, Sears. And so Sears is gone and Kmart stayed.
Yeah, okay. So you don't have a dedicated hardware store then? It's all sort of rolled in.
Home Depot, Lowe's, Menards.
Okay. Not as good?
Yeah. Ace Hardware. There's Fleet Farm. Fleet Farm is good. You can get your groceries, your DeWalt power tools, your hog rings for their noses so they don't root in the ground. You can get cattle gates, concrete, lumber, steak, pork chops. Perfect store.
Sounds like Bunnings, except you can't get steak there. All right. We'll see you all next week for a very special announcement.
Next week on a very special Hammer